Hello, welcome to the Panzermuseum Munster today, and we'll ask one question today, which might sound quite weird at first. Was the Panzerkampfwagen 6 Ausführung E Tiger a medium tank? Now, before you think I'm completely nuts, we'll look at several primary sources here, pre-war and during the war, to answer this question properly, because, well, the definition changed over time, and this is particularly important because sometimes one of the pre-war definitions is used by Russians for classifying the Panther, but not the Tiger. And this Tiger in particular is very well suited for this because this one is made mostly out of plastic, aluminum and other stuff, and as such is way lighter than the real one.
So what is the issue here? Now, when it comes to the medium versus heavy Panzer discussion, this is almost always about the Panther. And in some cases people refer to the following pre-war definition to note that the Panther was a medium tank. As for instance did the user 501 Mobius more than a year ago, referring to a 1935 publication. And on one trip to the German military archives I came across this definition again, although in a 1936 publication. To quote, first, classification, light tanks are equipped with machine gun tank, or with machine gun and guns, up to 7.5 cm caliber excluded, gun tank. Medium tanks are gun tanks with 7.5 cm caliber to 10.5 cm caliber excluded. Heavy tanks carry guns from 10.5 cm caliber upwards. And this definition is indeed the same as the one in the General Army announcement from December 1935 mentioned by the user. Using this definition to classify the Panther is an option, yet I assume you immediately see the problem here. Yes, if the criterion is a caliber from 7.5 cm and below 10.5 cm, that means that the Tiger and also the Königstiger with their 8.8 cm guns are clearly medium tanks by this definition. Yet so far I have seen nobody make the claim that the Tiger nor Königstiger are medium tanks. So what did change? Well, the Germans at one point, I don't know exactly when yet, ditched the pre-war definition and created a definition based on the mass of the vehicles. Sadly, we are still missing details on when and where. There are various documents that often indicate certain aspects, like for instance the manual for the training on the Panther. 12. The training of the tank driver on the tank Panther, Class C, full-tracked vehicle over 30 tons, requires experience as a tank driver in frontline operations. Sadly, I could not find a definition of the different classes in the Army Regulation 471 and 472, of which only pre-war versions exist, from what I know. During my research I came across the semi-official training manual Der Reibert for the Panzerschützen, literally translated tank rifleman, yet generally referring to tank crewmen, particularly referring to the 11th edition from 1939. Although there is a mention of the classification of tanks in this publication, it is only in the section about the motorization in foreign armies. It is noted that a distinction is made between heavy, medium, light and special tanks according to the armament, armor and equipment. Yet for the medium tank, the publication explicitly refers to foreign classification. According to the views of foreign countries, medium tanks are the actual attack tanks, which are primarily capable of attacking and destroying enemy artillery. This is likely due to this part being rather dated. After all, the pictures of the German tanks in the publication are still Panzer I. This reference to foreign tanks is also quite interesting in another way. Since a few weeks ago, I finally found a German document listing a classification based on the weight of the tanks, and it is also about foreign tanks. It is from 1942 and like the Panther manual also includes the above 30 tons as an important criterion. It is the German Army Regulation 469/2B from November 1942. It notes under classification of tanks by mass, in everyday language, weight is usually a decisive factor in distinguishing armored cars and tanks, in addition to armament and the strength of the armor. The designations are chosen arbitrarily by various states and often differ considerably in their meaning. The following can be taken as an indication for the designation. Tanks: small tanks 2 to 5 tons, light 5 to 15 tons, medium 15 to 30 tons, heavy 30 to 60 tons, super heavy over 60 tons. And if you pay close attention, you might have noticed that the whole thing is not so clear cut at all. First, the document also notes that the armament and armor are important criteria, which in a way suggests that the old classification based on caliber might have not been completely discontinued. Second, one might argue that this was the German classification for enemy tanks only and not applied for domestic tanks. Additionally, the document notes that the enemy's classification seems arbitrary and as such the weight guideline was chosen. Although it is important to note that this army regulation was issued from the General of the Schnellen Truppen, literally fast troops, which was basically the general for the Panzers and some related arms before the reorganization in 1943. Additionally, we also see from the Panther manual, the 30-ton factor was also used for German tanks as well. As such, this point likely can be dismissed. To summarize, the Germans in December 1935 published a classification for light, medium and heavy tanks in the Allgemeinen Heeresmitteilungen, General Army Announcements, that classified the tanks by their caliber. In November 1942, there was an army regulation released that classified tanks by their weight, noting that tanks above 30 tons are considered heavy. Furthermore, an army regulation for the Panther from August 1943 also indicates that the weight of 30 tons seems to be determining the class of fully tracked vehicles. It specifically notes that the fully tracked vehicle above 30 tons is a Class C vehicle. Hence, it is likely that Class C were heavy tanks, whereas B and A likely were used for medium and light tanks. Sadly, so far, I haven't found the regulation or announcement for these classes. So like the Panzer III and IV, we are slowly ignoring through regulations to answer various questions. So stay tuned, maybe I will find a tree-based method of classifying tanks in some regulations in the archive, or perhaps some other method. As you can see, the situation is complicated.
As you can see, it's not always that straightforward and you need to be careful with primary sources as well and put them in the right context. And it's the same with this tiger, which is also sometimes called Frankentiger or Frankentiger, because several of parts of this tiger are from early variants and several are from late variants. As such, for experts, it doesn't really match. Most people don't notice. And so you always need to be a bit careful here. Big thank you here to the Panzermuseum Munster for making this video possible. Special thanks to Dr. Roman Töppel for providing me with additional sources on this whole topic and also discussion. And finally, big thank you to all my Patreon and Subscribestar supporters for making trips like this possible. As always, sources are listed in the description. Thank you for watching and see you next time.